When looking at someone's face, it's almost like you're seeing a part of their story be told live and in action. A lot can be shown through a face: emotions, physical attributes, ethnicity, and race. If you think about it, we probably use our faces to communicate more than any other part of our body. But what if I told you there's more to faces than meets the eye? What if I told you every day you're constantly negotiating your self-image and the image of others in ways you never even noticed? This might not make sense now, but after this video, you should have a better understanding of why there's so much conflict in the world, how cultures influence that, and how we individually impact that. This might seem like a lot to unpack, but it can be summed up pretty well in a simple communication theory. What theory, you ask? The face negotiation theory. The face negotiation theory was formulated by Stella Ting Toomey, who was a professor of speech communication at California State University. Toomey explains the theory is used to explain and predict how conflict management is associated with cultural differences. Before I really put the theory to work, let me give you a crash course lesson of the different aspects of this theory. The three main aspects are face work, individualistic culture versus collectivistic culture, and conflict styles. Face work, defined by Psychology Today, signifies a desire or defines a strategy to avoid humiliation or embarrassment, to maintain dignity, or to preserve reputation. This is also known as face saving. Face saving can be done to your public self or the self you want others to see, as well as the self of others. For example, let's say you have a friend who is a pretty bad singer and they want to know what you think right after they've sung in front of you and your friends. If you're not thinking of saving you or your friend's public face, you might say something like, "You're a terrible singer." But if you were trying to save their face as well as yours, you would probably say something like, "It takes guts to get up and sing. I'm proud of you." This allows you and your friend to avoid humiliation and to maintain both of your reputation. Next aspects we have are individualistic and collectivistic cultures. Individualistic cultures are known for being self-reliant, assertive, and independent. Collectivistic cultures are known for being dependable, generous, and group-oriented. These two types can then even be broken down to specific countries of the world. This is very prevalent when looking at the differences of Western and Eastern countries. Generally, Western countries are known for being more individualistic. Individualistic cultures are more likely to worry about their public self and saving one's own face more than they are about others. For example, countries with high individualistic traits are Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. Eastern countries are then generally known for being more collectivistic. Because of this, these cultures tend to worry about the public self of others and do face with group mentality. Again, some of these countries for reference would be China, Korea, and Indonesia. Because there are differences in traits and cultures, there's going to be different conflict styles with each culture. There are 5 main conflict styles I'm going to talk about today. First is domination. This conflict style is an individualistic approach to making decisions by dominating or controlling. Another style is avoiding. This is a collectivistic approach of staying away from conflict, aka avoiding it altogether. Obliging is another collectivistic approach, which is when one simply gives up on the conflict. Compromising is an individualistic approach when you negotiate to come up with a solution. And last but not least, integrating is an individualistic approach when you work together to reach a solution. Now, let's set up a real-life example. Say there's someone from the US. Let's call him Bob. If Bob lives in the United States, he'd then be a part of the Western culture and therefore more likely to be more self-preserving and dominating in his conflict. Now, let's say there's someone from South Korea. Her name is Kim. Since Kim lives in South Korea, she is part of Eastern culture. That means she is more likely to avoid and oblige to conflict. So, with the face negotiation theory being carried out, generally speaking, if Bob and Kim were both in conflict, Bob would be focusing on his public self, while Kim would be focusing more on Bob's self or their selves as a unit. Face negotiation theory can be applied to different types of interpersonal relationships, like romantic or business, as well as across cultures, as seen in my example earlier. We're getting to a close, but before I finish, I must mention how every theory will have its fair share of criticisms. One criticism of the face negotiation theory is that even though Western countries have an individualistic culture and Eastern countries have a collectivistic culture, there still are societies within these countries that follow the opposite of the norm. So, the generalization of the cultural classifications would not be practical in that context. Well, that about wraps up our face negotiation theory. I hope you have a better understanding of conflict styles, cultural differences, and the concept of face work. Next time you're in conflict, stop and see which category you might fall under. Do you avoid, or are you more likely to dominate? Whatever the case may be, now you can have a better understanding of how the world is impacted so easily. Thanks for watching.